There are a lot of people who don't believe, what are you here in modern era? How can you believe in this kind of thing? Where is the proof it happened? It is all a built-up story. First dasara ever performed by the Mysore ruler started with this story. Things evolved, where virtually as I said, Raja Wadiyar, all his sons died. So actually his grandson succeeded. He had a grandson. He succeeded him. But it so happened, Raja Wadiyar had a posthumous child. He succeeded him. So with that, his line ended. Like neither the grandson had a child, nor the posthumous child had a child. Both of them hadn't. There were no. The line ended there. With Raja Wadiyar's line ended. But luckily, what happened? The larger family of the Yaduraya, the founder of the dynasty, his other children, the members were there. They all one by one succeeded into the throne. Like when you talk about the Kanti Raja Wadiyar, Dodadeva Wadiyar, Chikdeva Raj Wadiyar, like that one by one, all of them. But none of them again had children. Like Kanti Raja Wadiyar didn't have a child. Dodadeva Raj Wadiyar did not have a child. Chikdeva Raj Wadiyar, they had a son, but again, in a very peculiar circumstance, he had a son who was a deaf and dumb. So technically, according to the rules of this thing, he is unfit to be a king. So his son was known as Dodda Krishraj Wadiyar, who the deaf and dumb king. The son was there, and he was Krishraj Wadiyar, the first. And there, it virtually the entire lineage of the Wadiyars ended. When you talk about the dynasty of when you say Yaduraya founded the Yaduraya's progeny's regime over this part of the country ended with the death of Krishraj Wadiyar the first. So when you talk about whatever transpired after that is a result of this. When I say whether it is the era of Dalwais, whether it is the era of when some historians call us weak kings, or the ascension of the Hyder and Tipu, everything is linked to the death of the last of the king. Whoever was either, like the first one to be adopted was known as Jayachamaraja Wadiyar. He was a 28 or 27-year-old boy. Not a direct descendant. But within one year or two, this thing, he started asserting to the detriment of even the mother. So ultimately, that was the first time he was virtually deposed and killed. A king was deposed and killed because he misbehaved. Or deemed to have, whether who is right, who is wrong is not the question. But at the end of the day, he didn't sail along with the mother who adopted him and gave the status. And he was put into what is known as, here nearby there is a place known as Kabala Durga, you might have heard, a hillock kind of thing, which is very steep and difficult. Those days he was put as a prisoner there and virtually died along with his wives. Irrespective, he never had children, whatever, that part of the story. Then they adopted another, this time they thought, okay, let us not adopt a grown-up man, let us adopt a kid. So that, these are all very crazy stories. But when you're talking about whether it's a myth or not, but unfortunately these are facts what I am talking about. And that was Krishraj Wadiyar, the second, Imadi Krishraj Wadiyar. And it was under him the Hyder Ali's rise started, and ultimately, why and what we will not go through, he virtually deposed him, deposed his own king, and kept him as virtually like a nominal king. So after the deposition of Chamaraj Wadiyar in 1733 or so, Imadi Krishraj Wadiyar, a boy of 4 or 5, was adopted, and from his childhood to becoming a grown-up boy, virtually the kingdom was under the control of what is known as the hereditary Dalwais. Dalwa means the commander of these things. So they were like some of the well-known Dalwais of that time are known as Devrajaya and Karachuri Nanjarajaya. So they were extraordinarily brilliant commanders of the army. There is no doubt about that. Whatever Hyder achieved is partly because whatever already they had achieved. They had virtually taken the, they were in command of the South Indian. When we are talking about the command of these things, virtually wherever the Kaveri flows. The Mysore ruler virtually went around, didn't go upstate. They went around wherever the Kaveri went. So whether it is Krishnagiri, Salem, this, that, Erode, etc., all the way to Tiruchirappalli, Tanjavur and things like that. So they went on conquering many places, and all these, many of that happened during they were no less than the Hyder or Tipu in that sense, except that they didn't anoint themselves as a king. Okay. They were the power behind the throne, but one of the unfortunate probably things was they fell short of assuming, okay. And it was under this period that when as you know, the Karachuri Nanjarajaya was as I am talking about, when he thought of coming to Devanhalli and conquering Devanhalli, that's when Hyder comes into the picture historically. Because by that time, Hyder and his brother they were purchased for a small price, because they were under, whatever, that I don't want to get into detail. They were, the ransom for their head after the death of their father was there. They were paid that amount, and they were under in Bangalore fort. Those days Bangalore fort. And the Bangalore fort was under the command of what was known as Katti Gopal Rajas. Katti Gopal Rajas, why I am talking about again, is the father of Lakshman. And they were called, in those days they were called Parpatedar. The Kannada word used for a, English word would have been Kiledar, or Parsi word would have been Kiledar. Like under the Muslim regime, they were all called Kiledar, whereas the original name was Parpatedar. So if you read any history of book of Bangalore, particularly Bana Sundar Rao and things like that, My Bangalore Na Itihasa, you will see a lot of references to Katti Gopal. So the word Katti itself indicates he was probably very good in his swordsmanship and teaching. Under his training, the Hyder and his brother were under his. And there are very records in some of the Garudis of in even today's Garudi. They say this is the Garudi where Hyder was trained. If you go there, the mention about that is there. Even today, those Garudis are, Garudi means where the Pailwans are trained. Okay, and those are still there today. Even in Bangalore of today also, those places are extant as such. And they were under, and when the Mysore decided to conquer Devanhalli fort, these people went there. They were part of that conquering army. And it was a long draw. In those days, because even today if you go to Devanhalli, you will see a fort. And that fort, normally they used to surround the fort, and it used to take a long time and things like that. And there were difficult times. That's where Hyder and his brother supposed to have excelled and come to the limelight, so that the Karachuri Nanjarajaya, the army commander, Dalwai, takes him to Srirangpet. That's when the rise to fortune of this Hyder and this thing started. But anyway, as times work out, this Hyder Ali deposed his own master, Karachuri Nanjarajaya, also was put to jail. The Maharaja was put to virtual jail, and he became virtual ruler of this place. And after the death of Imudi Krishnaraj Wadiyar, He had two sons. They were youngsters at that time. They were deposed before they again came of age. Some stories say they were killed. Whatever may be. Then again there was an adoption. Jayachamaraja Wadiyar, the father of Modi Shri Raja Wadiyar. And he was the last of the kings from the Srirangpatna. And after his death in 1796, Tipu by that time had taken over. He thought there is no point in even anointing a king. The so-called the Wodeyar palace in the Srirangpatna was destroyed. I mean, you don't know there was a palace, but there was a palace obviously. And there are so many list of kings, and that palace was destroyed. And what the story is, even those days the library used to be known as Saraswati Bandar. And those days were, Saraswati book. It is not like today's modern books. They were all the Talagiri and whatnot and all that. So they were all used as a firewood to cook for the royal horses. These are all again stories. Somebody asked me, where is the proof? This is what the history books tells us. Whatever may be. And the palace there, was destroyed. There is enough proof because there is no palace there. Things like that happened, and then the British came in the fourth Mysore war. Though in the third Mysore war they did succeed, but they gave him a reprieve. Under the Cornwallis 1792, virtually Tipu surrendered without practically much of a war. So that's when his sons were exchanged, and the Bangalore and many territories were given till the subsidy, the demand for money, whatever the cost of the war was paid back. The son was held as a hostage, and Bangalore city was held. And that's when, after when it was given back, that's when the fort in Bangalore was destroyed by Tipu. So whatever remnants of fort what you see in Bangalore was not built by Tipu, was built post 1799 by Purnaya. These are all various stories. But that's so when you come to Shri Raja Wadiyar, we are coming back to the era of Shri Raja Wadiyar III. The boy of 5-year-old was again put on the throne by the British East India Company, as you were to say. And they thought that Srirangpatna is a very dangerous citadel to keep any Indian ruler, because at any point of time they can, because it was considered as a very formidable citadel, Srirangpatna, because of its very nature of things, being an island and whatnot. So that's how they shifted him back to Mysore. So that's how the Mysore virtually rose back from its ashes, because by that time even the old Mysore fort was destroyed, and there was no Mysore at all at that point of time, because the Tipu had built a new fort which is known as Nazarbad. And incidentally there is a connect. That is what we call as Chamundi Vihar today. That's where Jayachamaraja was born and brought up and grew up. All his childhood days were spent in Chamundi Vihar, because that was his father's place. Though Shri Raja Wadiyar lived in the Mysore palace, the Yuvaraja lived in his Chamundi Vihar. And Chamundi Vihar nothing but the Nazarbad of Tipu Sultan. And a little more when you talk about Shri Raja Wadiyar III, since he was a natural heir, because he was born to the last king, Jayachamaraja Wadiyar. So naturally he couldn't be getting a child. Naturally, according to the story of the curse, because we were still in the story of the curse. According to the story of the curse, since he was born to be a king, because his father was not born to be a king, he was an adopted king. Whereas Shri Raja Wadiyar, being the son of a king, was born as a king. That means again he was not destined to have children. But he was a very, virtually a modern day Krishna. To say, he was a romantic man. He much married man among all the modern day king. Probably was much married than anybody else. And okay, there were some who are known as Pattamahishis who are from the royal clan, but none of them had children. And you would say ironic, but he had other outside the caste marriage. There he had children. So what do you say that? Because according to the dynasty, marriage outside this thing, they are not destined to succeed to the throne. But he had children from there. And so much so, ultimately, despite having children and grandchildren, he decided to ultimately adopt Chamaraj Wadiyar, defying the British, and that which I have narrated already. And naturally, since he was an adopted boy, he had children. That's so Shri Raja Wadiyar the fourth and Yuvaraja came into this. And this was an unusual situation. People did not know whether the Yuvaraja will have children. And he had, ultimately, after a long hiatus, Jayachamaraja Wadiyar was born. So that's where I would put the entire context in, like that. So that we come to the birth of a prince. As you know, Chamaraj Wadiyar was an adopted son. So there was no bar on him having children. That's how he had 4 children, as a matter of fact, 4 sons. 2 of them died in their infancy. And only Shri Raja Wadiyar the 4th and continued of Narasimharaja Wadiyar, the Yuvarajas, were the one to survive. And technically, let us say, when I say Jayachamaraja Wadiyar was not born as a king, there were many options. One, Shri Raja Wadiyar himself could have adopted anybody. Right? He didn't adopt. But let us say hypothetically, Shri Raja Wadiyar after Shri Raja Wadiyar died early, and then his brother had become the king, the Yuvaraja had become the king, then automatically Jayachamaraja would have been deemed as born as a king. But ironical, the Yuvaraja died earlier. Yuvaraja died earlier than the Maharaja. So after the Yuvaraja died, so it was open for Shri Raja Wadiyar the 4th to decide whichever way he wanted. But still, after the death of the Yuvaraja, he anointed Jayachamaraja Wadiyar as the Yuvaraja. There is no, technically there is no adoption. It is only anointment. Because by that time, Jayachamaraja Wadiyar was already married, because Yuvaraja died in 1940, few months before Shri Raja Wadiyar himself. Yuvaraja died in March 1940, whereas Shri Raja Wadiyar died in August. So in this period, already the Maharaja was married Satya Prem Kumari in 1938. Okay, but still he was not even considered as a Yuvaraja. So much so, when there are British records which shows that the first Europe trip the Jayachamaraja Wadiyar went to Japan, the Maharaja wanted to be given the princely privileges by wherever he went. He went to Japan, China, and things like that. The British said, no, who is he? He has no status. It's on record. We can only call him as, Rajkumar at the best, but we can't give him any privileges, because he is not the son of a king. It was officially denied. Though from one kingdom to is going to another, this thing, international travel purpose, no privileges were given. That was the status of him in 1938 when he went to Japan. Immediately after the death of Yuvaraja in March 1940, the Shri Raja Wadiyar duly anoints him as the Yuvaraja. It's a formal function, giving him the title. That means to say that after his death he will succeed. But as you all know, Jayachamaraja Wadiyar was, as I said, was not born as a king. So that's how he could beget children. That is Srikandatta Narasimharaja was born. So we have come to a very interesting part of the history, where the kingdom has ended, we have come to the modern democracy, where whether Srikandatta Wadiyar had children or otherwise is immaterial. But since he was born to be a king, he could never beget children. That's how adoption of Yaduvir Krishnadatta Narasimharaja Wadiyar comes into picture. So you look at it, I am not a judge of the situation, I only narrated the facts to you. To call it as a myth or a story is left to the listeners to decide among themselves. But these are all hard facts.